I'm Travis Weaver, and you're listening to the Good People Project.
Hey, should we do it?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's jump in. Negative stories get headlines, but there are a ton of good and decent people stepping up to serve an elected office. The Good People Project tells the unsung story of those who wake up every day to do good and selfless work for the American people. Please share this episode with friends and family to help spread our positive message. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by not one, but two extremely special guests who are signing up for the tall and selfless task of improving the city of Peoria as council members. I seriously can't say enough about these two candidates and how excited I am for both of them. Both are abundantly qualified and are extremely acquainted with Peoria's strengths, have a sober view of our challenges, and have strategies to help us get on a better path. So, without any further ado, the wise and talented Jamie Messmore and James Kemper. How's it going?
Good. That was quite the introduction, Travis.
Well,
So you want to just campaign for, I don't need to say anything now, right?
well, I'm a fan. What can I say? I guess I probably do live in the 4th District. I can't. I live over at Grand Prairie. So I can vote for you, James. I wish I could say the same. You're both deserving. First off, I want to talk about just what it's like campaigning together. I'm guessing probably each of you was familiar with the other before this happened, but it's kind of an interesting situation where you have your own districts, right? We'll get to that a little bit later, where your boundaries are. You're not campaigning against one another. You're actually campaigning for the same goal, and you're not really a team, but you probably each with hope that the other is successful. And I'm sure that you're crossing paths at all sorts of events, and you're like, I wish I was with my kids tonight, but instead I'm with James and Jamie. So how's the campaign been going, and how's it just been working with one another?
It's been great. I think this might be the first time we've ever officially shaken hands, right? We've been kind of in.
We're not out knocking on doors together.
No, we haven't done that. Not that, I would welcome the help. If you're not busy, come on over. And but I think this, as my children say, it was not on my bingo card.
That's
for
right.
2025.
As the kids say.
As the kids say. But I've learned so much, and I've met some really, really great people, and some people, who I have either known or heard their name or things like that. And this has given me an opportunity to formally meet them and work with them. And I think, if all else fails, it's been a really great opportunity and fun.
Yeah, it is kind of a unique opportunity. So my two closest friends in the House are Dr. Bill Howder, who lives in Morton, and Dennis Tipsford, who's over in Woodford County. And I knew Dr. Howder before I ran a little bit, but I knew each of them really from phone conversations, because we would talk, but our districts didn't overlap. And one of the nice things is, since I'm not competing with them, you can kind of rip off their ideas, right? Bill would say, I'm working on this marketing strategy, or Dennis would say, I've got this bill idea. I'd say, that's great. And since we're all teammates, I can champion the same things as them. So it's not like there's, a plagiarism issue. It's just that we have a common goal together. And so I am envious of the situation you guys are in, where you kind of have this bond that you start to build with folks just because you have the same end goal, really.
Yeah, no, I'd agree.
So James, I'm going to start with you a little bit, and I'm going to test your chops, because I'm going to throw two pitches at you, and I'm going to see if you can hit them both. Politicians are famous for not answering questions, but I think you like both of these. Uh-huh. So number one's easy. Tell us a little bit about James Kemper. And also, I know that three things that are important to you are public safety, growing jobs, and improving quality of life in the city of Peoria, which that's like the big three, man. If we can do all those, we're cooking. So number one, what's your background? And number two, how do you think your background is going to help you bring experiences in those key areas to get some things done for us?
Oh, well, I appreciate that, Travis. Talking about baseball analogies, pitching, you're going to pitch me a couple things. Well, I was a pitcher, so I was on the other end, but I wasn't a good hitter. So okay. I hope you hit these out of the park. Not sure about that.
Yeah, maybe lay down some bunts and we'll try to bail down.
I will try to do that. Maybe I'll get some foul balls.
Jamie will bring you home.
Yes, absolutely. So who am I? I was born and raised in Central Illinois. I was raised by very, very hardworking people. I cannot remember when I wasn't working. I was on a farm like you. I remember the warm eggs in my hand as a kid. My mother had me when she was 16.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And she still graduated as valedictorian of her class, went on to go to Pekin Insurance and become an accountant there without a college degree. My stepfather, who raised me at the time, He was a hard worker. He worked at Caterpillar. He's a lineman. Guy was on the line, did that. Came home and we had 5 acres of sweet corn that were ours on our land that we farmed. So the base of me, I'm a hard worker. Age 17, I left the house, went to the Air Force, went to college immediately. Then after ICC Bradley, ultimately got a master's degree from the San Francisco Institute of Architecture. I became the youngest stockholder at a firm called Phillips Swagger Associates. At least that's what I was told at age 26. Went on then to start the Chicago office for that firm at age 30. Continued on to create my own business, late 30s. Been growing that ever since. All of it, I say all of this story because it's all about hard work. And that's what I would bring to the city council. I would work hard for it. A lot of people say, "Hey, James, you have the time for this?" Like, well, I didn't really think that I wanted to have the time for this, but I think I need to be in here. I need to work hard and bring the skill set that's necessary to the council, which kind of gets into the next question you have in there. Who's James? Here's your key priorities. Key priority 1 is public safety. We can't do anything. There's no way to build businesses, no way to, especially in the first district, to make great things happen if it's not safe. Businesses aren't going to come in. People aren't going to go to the businesses if they don't feel safe. So we need to do something about that. I have my opponent and other people that are running right now are using they're stating that we're 20% safer, 20% better on crime, 20% this and that. That's great. I've also know that a lot of other communities, similar sized towns have seen that similar 20%, since COVID. But I want to ask everybody, do you feel safe? Do you feel safe going downtown Peoria? When I hear answers back, no, not at night. I go down there as little as possible. I think to myself, you don't feel safe enough and we need to do a better job. So that's number 1, public safety. 2, the unique skill set that I bring to this. And I think the end goal of it is creating jobs and then expanding the tax base. But the unique skill set I have, I work with developers around the country, between the developer and the city to make good deals. Good sound deals for the developer, good sound deals for the city. A lot of people are scared of developers, go, Gary Matthews and what happened with the Pierre Marquette, all that stuff. I can sniff through that stuff. I remember when that deal was being done many, many years ago. I think it was John Morris gave me a call. I was in Chicago at the time. And I said, John, I don't know about this deal. It sounds a little fishy, getting that developer fee coming up front like that. You've got to be able to figure something else out. I know the deal finally did go through, but most deals are good and you can make them good and you've got to be able to work with the developers. I am so sick and tired of all of this business, just saying the heck with Peoria, can't work with them, going to East Peoria, going somewhere else. The Putt Club is an example. Yeah. That's my client. Jason Payne, Doug Sikander, I was talking to them saying, hey, can we, work with Peoria? Can we find a place in Peoria? Maybe they've got some land here, there. I know there's some opportunities that should be there for that. And they go, James, we've tried with them before. We've got a failed deal. And it's right over here at Orange Prairie. I think it's what it is over here. And no, we're not working with them anymore. Just too difficult to do. So the unique skill set I want to bring is to be able to bring businesses to Peoria, make them successful, get new jobs to Peoria, expand our tax base, because we've got a big problem coming up here pretty soon. I think we all know that. Our budget is not going to be met. And the only way we're going to meet it is to raise taxes, which we can't do, or the highest that are out there, or expand that tax base. And that's what I'm running on, that I'm the right guy to do those things. Yeah,
and I think, the second one, economic growth, goes so well with the first one, public safety, because, we're all fans of our police force. The men and women in blue do a wonderful job. But the reality is that they don't so much stop crime as much as they hold criminals accountable. I think if we really want to be long-term successful and lowering our crime rate, jobs are the solution to so many things. Job keeps people off the streets. Jobs keep mom and dads in a position where they can provide for their families. Jobs broaden our tax base so that we can lower the tax rate and bring in more of them. So I think that you're spot on with looking at those two things together. And then obviously, of course, if you're being more prosperous economically, the quality of life goes with that really well. If you're being an architect, are there a couple of things that you would look at that maybe could be quick fixes for the city? Obviously there's things that are hard to do and that take time. Hopefully there's a couple of things that are near term, and not to give my own answer, but I would also expect that culture probably is something that goes along with that in City Hall, that, we have a culture that you want to help people be successful. You want to say yes to business deals, as opposed to this kind of nitpicking culture that I hear that we have where you feel like they're looking for reasons to slow you down.
Yeah, I've got a couple of answers to that question, Travis. First off, I want to roll back a little bit and correct you on something. I direct an architecture firm, so what I do, I don't draw anymore. I'm not on the computer doing that, so I want to make sure that it's clear. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that is out there in the community creating project, big picture. It's design director. Think of those two words. Design is really about vision, and director is leader. So I'm a leader of vision.
Love that.
That is what I do.
Jamie, you better be practicing, because you got a leader of vision here at the table.
So that's what I do. You said, the first thing you said, what are some quick fixes from your perspective?
Now I really wish I could vote for you.
What are some quick fixes from your perspective? Number one quick fix, change Main and University. So easy to do. Get rid of those curbs. Yeah. That is one of the dumbest.
It's brutal.
It's terrible.
It's
brutal. Ask everybody, anywhere, hey, what do you think about that Main and University? Oh, curse words, they start flying. And for me, it's my neighborhood is right next to this. Yeah. So all of the people that avoid Main and University, they come right through Columbia Terrace, drive down there, hundreds of vehicles a day. That used to be, and it's designed to be, a private neighborhood, a very peaceful and private neighborhood. Now it is not. Neighbors cannot let their kids go out in the front yard. They can't let them go out in the front yard, go down the street, knock on Joey's house, and take Joey over to the park and play some ball. Learn how to pitch.
Pitch and catch.
That's right. That's right. Well, they wouldn't be able. They're not going to be able to do this. So.
Now, when I cut through there, I'm not going to cut through there anymore. No. Now I'm going to think of that. Now I'm thinking of the kids. All right.
Just watch it.
No. The intersection.
Nobody in our neighborhood thinks illy of the people going through. It's the intersection. Yeah. We know the problem is the intersection. Moss Avenue, same thing. All that traffic that's on Moss, that's all because of that intersection. People are diverted over there. It's just been horrific for both of our neighborhoods, past 10, 11, 12 years, however long it is, and nobody is listening to us. The answers I get back when I say, hey, get rid of this, James, you don't understand. This works in Chicago. And I'm like, oh, this is not Chicago, guys. I lived in Chicago. This is not Chicago. Yeah. We do not, I don't know what it's helping. So that's a quick, easy fix. And I think that can spur more development on Main Street. Main Street currently is not, as I understand it, is not in a TIF district. I overlay a TIF on that, make Main Street again. And I think that we can see a lot of development happen right in that little area right there.
Yeah, and I personally love it. I teach at Bradley, and you just roll into that part of town, and once you go very far, I guess it would be east on Main, man, it gets pretty dilapidated pretty quickly. It does. And you think about a mom and dad bringing their 17 or 18-year-old to look at it and really having a facelift on that part of our city. Not only good for our residents, but gosh, there's only so many things we have that are really a magnet to bring new people into this town. Bradley is one of them. And I think the more we can do to revitalize that part of the community, to elevate the institution, get more people comfortable to go to school there, that's got massive knock-on effects.
Yeah, I'm older than you guys. One thing that we used to do, you guys probably heard about it, the cruising on Main. That was a big deal.
Okay.
Bring your car up here, hopefully, if you had a convertible, wow, awesome. Bring your car up here, drive around at 2 miles an hour, stop at the Steak and Shake, say hi to your friends and do a little this and a little of that and hang out all night on Main Street. Yeah, it was fun.
Offline, we'll get into what exactly this and that means.
Fill in the blanks.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, Jamie, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Actually, that was a really nice primer for us, because my first question, first and foremost, Bradley basketball fans got to know that you're their candidate. Are we going to win the NBC tournament this year? How are we feeling?
Of course, right? That's not, That's a better question for Brian Wardle. But no, I think, you know what, we're pulling out of a slump.
Yeah.
Had some illness, had some things going on. So I'm optimistic that tonight will be a good game and work out in our favor, and we're on to March. So
Yeah, it's time to get right. And, you know, I always say, I love Bradley basketball, and it's such a good thing, I think, for our community. You know, today as we're doing this, we just got 4 inches of snow, and I don't think you got to be a meteorologist to know the Illinois winters can be pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But when you got a fun community event to go to on Wednesdays and Saturdays, and you get to see folks and get out and watch good basketball, and when they're competitive, I really just think that the morale of the whole town rises on that sea change. And so I love watching them. It has been a little bit of a tough go, but they got the pieces, and so you hope we can be successful. And man, you know, Joe Messmore might not be the number one Bradley fan in town, but if anything ever happens to Mark Scott, he's right there ready to take the lead. And so I love seeing you guys.
Yeah, you know what? They definitely have a really solid succession plan in the works, right? There's quite a few of them.
There's a formal vetting process.
You have like the red blazer games that we laugh at. So my daughter, who will be 11 on Saturday, you know, she now has a red blazer.
Oh,
I'm like,
great.
when did this happen? Like when? Like, okay.
Yeah.
All right, here we are.
All right, now we got the big things out of the way. Okay, I know one of your mottos has been bringing business sense to City Hall. Sure. So maybe for the listeners, tell them a little about what exactly you do in business, because you've got a great experience and track record, and what you think it means to be able to bring that to City Hall, and where you think that you can make some improvements for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great question. You know, I started my career in nonprofit fundraising. So I spent some time with the American Cancer Society, the Alzheimer's Association, and also locally here in Peoria, our federally qualified health center, which is Heartland Health Services. There used to be Heartland Community Health Center. So when I went on with them, I did the rebrand to Heartland Health Services, and that gave me a really, really good picture into the health of Peoria and kind of the places that were missing in those underserved communities. And, you know, during that time as well, my husband and I bought what was then a struggling business, Molly Maid of Peoria. So we bought that. I can't really tell you why. We were young and
when was this?
Stupid in a lot of ways. It would have been 2016.
Okay.
So at that time, I had a 2-year-old and a 10-month-old at that time. So, you know, I'm like, why not? Yes, Joe, let's just add this on. So looking back, it's really kind of funny.
Are they employees?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I can legally admit that, but they are cheap labor, James.
Yeah.
We'll work for Starburst.
Yes, for allowance. For ice cream.
Yeah.
For late bedtime.
Bribery. Yeah. Right. It all works. We had school was canceled today. Like Travis said, 4 inches of snow. And I'm like, well, you're going to the office.
I love that.
No, they're good helpers. So we bought Molly Maid of Peoria, and then things just kind of spiraled from there. You know, it was a lot. It was a big undertaking, really took the both of us and to the point where I left my job at Heartland Health Services. And because we didn't have enough to do, I actually brought another franchise, Soccer Shots, to Central Illinois. So Soccer Shots is a nationwide franchise as well. It's an introduction to soccer program for kids 2 to 8. So really great for little people, and has a character building component as well. And when COVID hit, that was really hard, obviously, on a lot of businesses, but the Soccer Shots business took place in daycare centers. And obviously, you've got really young kids. And, you know, at that time, it was still cold in the beginning of March. We were inside, so no indoor facilities, things like that. So we had, you know, a lot of conversations and had another opportunity with Molly Maid to open a Molly Maid franchise in the Quad Cities. So we did that. And then later on came an opportunity in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So we have 3 Molly Maid franchises. We've kind of become, and at the time when we bought Molly Maid of Peoria, we were the youngest franchise owners in the system. Now, I won't tell my age, but, you know, now there's some younger under us, which is good because the franchise itself was a fairly old franchise. So we're seeing a lot of turnover and a lot of growth happening, and on the national level is great, but also on the local level, which has been a lot of fun. But Joe and I have kind of carved out our niche at helping or taking over struggling franchises and turning those around. So Molly Maid of Peoria, since we've owned it, has grown 525%.
Wow.
Yeah, which is exciting. And Baton Rouge was struggling. Baton Rouge is doing well. The Quad Cities was brand new. So that's kind of the business sense that I'm looking to bring to City Hall. You'll find, business owners. James, I think he said, I'll make time for this, right? It's one of those things like you need something done, give it to a busy person. And I think as business owners, a lot of times, got enough to do, got enough on my plate. And I think people look at politics a lot of time. I've had the question from a lot of people, why are you joining that circus? Why are you getting involved in that mess? Why are you bringing that chaos into your life? And, the best answer I have is I'm frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of being an armchair quarterback. I'll watch city council meetings or I'll watch, even, things going on at the national level. And I usually end up yelling at the television like when you're watching a football game. So, I'm at the place in my life where I think, my kids are at a good age. And between my nonprofit experience and my business experience, I think I have a really well-rounded view of what is going on in Peoria and kind of some of those places that we could see improvement to really grow and thrive.
Yeah, I love the background of taking over struggling businesses because it's hard to turn around a business, but it's not hard because you don't know what to do. There's two levers you pull: revenue up, cost down. And it's the same thing with government. Revenue's got to go up, and it doesn't go up because you're raising taxes. It goes up because the economy is growing and you're getting the knock-on benefits of that. And then cost goes down. And that's kind of challenging at the local level because we really see the costs that we spend money on. It's our police, it's our fire, it's our roads. But even though it's tangible items that we need, right, the goal of local government is to provide services to the citizens. You can also do that in a way that's much more diligent, right? We talk about a budget that's gone up by 40% in the last 6 years. That there's things in there that don't need to be in there. But I think that the bigger goal is how do we expand our tax base so that the burden is smaller on the rest of us, and it's the same with this struggling business as it is with the city or a county or a state or a nation. Revenue up, cost down.
Absolutely.
And one thing that's also neat about you coming into hopefully Peoria City leadership is with Molly Maids and with Soccer Shots, and I'm sure with doing fundraising, I'm sure have a lot of experiences with, I think you mentioned Quad Cities and Baton Rouge and some other towns where you've done business. Are there some things that you've seen happen in those other towns where you think that we can bring that to Peoria, or things that they do well and we do poorly that you think, wow, if I was doing this in Quad Cities, I'd be able to get this permit, or I'd be able to, participate in this, that, or the other?
Yeah, actually, it's funny that you kind of bring that up. The Quad Cities, there's so many different municipal governments in, a small area. So sometimes doing business in Peoria is better because it's only one place. But I was reflecting the other day, I'm like, actually, sometimes it's easier for me to talk to 4 or 5 places and get that done in the Quad Cities than it is to talk to one place here. And I'm like, there's something wrong with that.
Wow.
Like when you think about it, it's like it should be more difficult to communicate with, 3 or 4 different cities. And we did have one example here in Peoria that was particularly frustrating. We have a vacant lot across the street, know who owns it, talk to that person, talking about acquiring it. We needed more parking. At that point, Molly Maid has a big fleet of cars. We also are in a building where we have tenants. And so, parking is always a tricky situation. And the amount of hoops that we had to jump through just to change a vacant, what I would argue is a decaying lot into a parking lot. I mean, we were like, no, forget it. Like, this is so much work. And so I'll just call Peoria Cares every couple months.
Don't you know we have enough parking in Peoria?
I heard that.
I hear that all the time. We have too much parking.
Oh, well, try to go downtown to a city council meeting, see if you can find a spot, right?
I hear you.
What was that one of those studies that was done that said what Peoria's strengths are? One of them was that we have a lot of parking or something like that.
I'm not sure, but I hear that all the time. Whenever somebody is doing exactly what you're talking about, we want more parking. We want parking over here. Oh, come on, go look at Chicago. People walk. Like, okay, that's why they live in Chicago, right?
Right. That's actually one of my favorite. People are like, oh, we need to be a walkable city. And I'm like, let's just let that go. Let's let that go. We have vehicles, public transportation to get people, and especially the way Peoria is expanded, can't be really, at least out here, it'd be hard to be walkable. Downtown, I think you obviously need to be walkable, but yeah.
And I also appreciate one thing about you is I think you mentioned in the soccer shots too about doing things that are good for the little people is, being a mom and your kids are what, 7, 8, 9, 10?
9 and
age?
11, yeah.
And I'm sure you want them to come back here after they go to school and find jobs and can kind of put down roots in Peoria. And, I'm the same way. I think, all three of us are children of Peoria. And I just appreciate that in somebody who's from here, knows the strengths that we have, wants it to be better, and wants it to be better because you want your kids to be able to come back here and be prosperous.
Yeah.
I've got family and friends all over the country that have left Peoria to find greener pastures, and they certainly exist, and I got no problem with them going to other places. But man, I want to be here, and I want my kids to be here. And the path that we're on right now, I don't know that I could expect them to be here. So I appreciate you guys stepping up to try to be part of that solution to make it a place where it is a place where the kids want to land.
Yeah, I hope they stay close to me all the time. No,
Never leave my
I
side.
know, ever.
You
My
will look at Molly.
9-year-old is good with that. My 11-year-old's like, okay.
Yeah.
But Travis, to mention that, so I grew up in the Quad Cities.
Okay.
On the Illinois side, my parents are still there now, and going back to visit is sad. Like if you've been in any of, being in the state of Illinois on the borders, Iowa is a short 5-minute drive.
Yeah.
And so that is really the side of the river that's flourishing. And, our Molly Maid business is on the Illinois side, but I mean, it pains me, but we've talked about moving that to the Iowa side just because it's a better, kind of business environment too. So that is definitely one of my big reasons. I want my kids to come back here and visit me. I'm not leaving Peoria. And I don't want them to have the same feelings I have, like going where I grew up and being like, oh, well, this is not what it was. So.
Gosh, I know. And, the Quad Cities are such an interesting case study about what's effective state government because the realtors actually have really great data on this because they've got housing starts and home value increases and all this great data on the Iowa side and the Illinois side. And the only difference is the state that you're in because everything else geographically is identical right there, 5 miles apart, like you said. And Iowa's successful, and we're not. And I think a lot of our state legislators really have a head in the sand mentality because they don't want to see it, right?
Sure.
And especially so many of them are Chicago, so they could probably care less about what's going on in the Quad Cities. But it's not rocket science. We're chasing people out of the state. Other states are growing. In the last census, there's like 3 states that declined: Illinois, Mississippi, and maybe West Virginia. Okay. And people say, well, didn't California too? California had its first negative year, but over that 10-year period, it didn't decline. So that's neither here nor there. But you're right. We know that we've got to do a better job. And I think so often what we continue to do is more of the same. And that's one thing that I think is inspired about getting some fresh blood, some non-politicians, some business folks in there that will take a business-minded approach to things.
Yeah, we have a great opportunity, I think, in Peoria. I was talking to somebody yesterday. They're like, we have the opportunity to be the island, in the state of Illinois. And I'm like, that's actually a really, really great point.
Yeah. And so many advantages that other cities or states would kill for. Illinois has more miles of rail than any other track. We've got world-class secondary institutions, right? Think U of I, Chicago Booth, Northwestern, Bradley. We've got the city of Chicago. We've got the world's best agriculture. We've got so many things here right in the middle of the country. Yeah. Waterways to the river that can get you to the ocean through the south or through the north through the Great Lakes. Peoria, still a strong manufacturing footprint. A lot of things are working for us. I really just am a believer that we got to get out of our own way. That's my soapbox on state government for now.
But 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess thinking about the future, James, I really wanted to ask you this because I think that you're the perfect person to ask about the future because we talked about James Kemper, the design visionary, but we haven't talked about James Kemper, the author who wrote a dystopian book about what Peoria could look like in 2093. And I was thinking about this because, shockingly, 2093 is not that far away from now. As a matter of fact, we're the same distance away from 2093 as we are from 1957, forward versus backward. In 1957, here's a couple facts. You guys didn't know you're going to get a history lesson today. 1957, All Shook Up by Elvis Presley was the #1 song. I know that song. My kids will probably know that song. Not that long ago, right? The number one movie was Old Yeller. 12 Angry Men came out. My dad was 1 year old in 1957. So, you think about 1957, not that long ago. 2093, also not that far away. The decisions that y'all make right now will impact 2093. And the matter of fact, I might even be alive. I'd only be 101 in 2093. So I'm cheering for you guys to win because I want my life to be good then. So all that is to say, James, what do we need to be doing successfully today so that we can continue to be prosperous in 2093?
Wow, that's a great question. I really,
how's that for a pitch to hit?
Yes, wow, you got it. That was not a
That was a toss. That was not a screwball.
Yeah, it was not a toss.
We're going to play this over.
Yeah.
James. We're just going to see if you were correct.
Not a lob.
I absolutely love it, though, because you're probably one of the few people that have read my book, and I really appreciate you doing that and give me input.
I did read on Wikipedia about the book.
Oh, I thought you read the thing. Maybe it was your dad that.
Travis, you outed
Maybe it was your dad.
My dad. You're right. My dad did read it.
That's right.
My dad did read
Your dad gave me a crazy number of notes, and we sat and talked about it. That's right. Yeah, I did. That was a fun time with your dad.
Yeah, we're honest on the Good People Project here, James. I would love to claim it. And now maybe I've got a responsibility too.
So if we really Peoria, making it great, expanding. So if we can, not just say, hey, we got a great skyline today. Can we bring enough in so that people are building high rises in our downtown, expanding that? What do we need? Obviously, I mentioned public safety before, but it goes way, way, way beyond that. You look at the north and to the south of downtown, we have neighborhoods that are in decay. We've got to figure out that issue, that problem. We've got to do something about it. We can't just kick the can and say, hey, it's all right, let's put a Band-Aid on this, let's fix that. There's going to be some big changes that need to occur there, and we need to get neighborhood buy-in on this. We need to figure out, maybe, I know there's state programs on figuring out how we move and make things happen. Terrible thing for a lot of people to talk about, hate talking about it. But if we want this city to be fantastic, 70 years from now, be this thing that you're driving on 74, you're looking over, and it's not this skyline we have right now, but picture a bigger skyline, a more beautiful skyline. And it goes north and it goes south. And beyond that are great neighborhoods. And we have systems for the transportation between those neighborhoods and the downtown. And we become a thriving place. And on top of this bluff of it, we still have these old historic neighborhoods up there. How do we get to that point? And it's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to take some pain, and it won't be easy. But we need to start doing it, because if we don't, we're going to end up like places like Detroit, where you get a block of nothing and a couple little houses that are beat up, and they're I hate to say it, but I can see ourselves in 20 years being in a spot like that, and I'd rather not. I'd rather be proactive about this and make a beautiful city. How do we do that? Well, I mean, you go back in when was that? The mid 1800s, New York. You remember Manhattan? It was roads were all over the places. There was no zoning. It was pretty much chaos, and the decay had occurred there, kind of in the middle of the island. So what they did is created a project, tore everything down, went in and bought it, moved people, and created Central Park. Central Park was the saving grace of Manhattan many, many years ago, and that's why it's flourishing the way it is now. And now we find this is not something that's new, that's just Peoria. This is the cycle of urban society. This happens. This happens in Europe. This happens obviously in the United States. It happens all over the place. This is not a distinct thing that is happening in Peoria. This happens all over the place, and we have to foresee that it's going to happen, and we have to do something about it now so that we can have a great city 70 years from now.
Bravo. They say, best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. And I think it's really invokes some thoughts, because, I think that Peoria's city population started declining kind of in the early 70s has been on a downhill track since then. And you wish you could go back and implement some changes that were more fiscally responsible, that allowed Peoria to continue to be a manufacturing hub. But the reality is that we didn't. And so, it took us kind of 50 years to get into this mess that we created for ourselves. And you wish that you could fix it 50 years ago, but the reality is that you can still fix it today. And there's really no time like the present to get on that.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Okay, switching gears just a little bit. For both of you, I think this is the first time you've ever campaigned for elected office. Have either of you ever done it?
I have.
Oh, you have?
Yes.
Was it for?
Second district.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, still for both of you, how's it coming? Have you had any interesting conversations at doors or support that you weren't expecting to get? I know it's kind of like, especially for you, Jamie, really venturing into uncharted territory. You're like, what the heck am I even doing? My kids think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
So how's the journey been for each of you?
The journey, I think I said a little earlier, it's been really challenging, but also enlightening and fun in some ways. One thing I've really enjoyed, I spoke to my daughter's 5th grade class yesterday, and she
nothing like campaigning to children.
Oh my gosh, like the question.
They can't vote,
No, yeah, but yeah, it was our social studies class. So
this is Illinois.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't talk.
Are you sure about that, Travis?
Yeah.
But it was really, really interesting because I talked to so many adults who have. I even talked to somebody who watches every city council meeting, and they're like, "Well, I live in the 5th district." I'm like, "Well, you now live in the 4th district." Like, absolutely not. I didn't miss that. I'm really in tune with. I'm like, I'm going to show you the map. You live in the 4th district. So I think there's a lot of education that needs to happen too. And so that's been interesting to me as I knock on doors. But, my daughter is like, oh no, this is the 2nd district. This is the 3rd district. So for me, if nothing else, I'm like, that's not something I was talking about in 5th grade.
Yeah.
I had no idea. My parents, were not politically involved whatsoever. So I told my husband, I'm like, well, if nothing else, like maybe we're inspiring like the first female president of the United States, I don't know. So, things like that have been really cool, like within my own family. But I've gotten to know a lot more of my neighbors. I've gotten to know a lot more of the business owners, specifically in the 4th district, and kind of just, I am an introvert. So this has like pushed me straight out the front door, into a lot of those extroverted things. So that's been really great for me personally. And it's been a lot of fun. I don't know if I could ever do it for a living, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love the story about your daughter. You're right. It's such an opportunity for exposure for little people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got a quick comment on that one, Travis. Non-kinetic weapons.
Okay.
Yes, that was
for those of us that don't know what that means. Because obviously I do.
Yeah.
But I don't read the book.
So that was a topic of discussion with one of my neighbors for well over an hour.
Oh my God.
Yes. And I happened to know what it was. I was in the military. There's certain like magnetic weapon. There's a sound as a non-kinetic weapon.
Got it.
But yeah, it was a discussion for well over an hour. So that was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. One guy, I knocked on his door. He came out. He looked me up and down. And he slammed the door in my face. Like, well, what's up? What did I do?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
He didn't like your shirt.
He must not have.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that
You're
was
a
all
sharp
about.
dresser, though.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that one. A lot of people, first question they ask, did you vote for Donald Trump?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I avoid those questions.
Actually, city council is several rungs below federal.
Yeah.
It really has a very dissimilar issues. So, yeah.
Yes.
But that is kind of the common one of,
there's a lot of angry people out there right now. So,
Yeah.
Especially in my district. So I see a lot of that. But most of the time, it's been very positive. It's genuine people that are interested in what's going to happen to them and to their neighborhood, their neighbors. They are concerned about public safety. When I bring up the Maine and University thing, everybody like, whoa, yeah, we need to fix that. And it doesn't matter where you live. It affects them with their neighborhood or not. They just cannot stand that intersection. Certainly public safety is a big top issue. And if I ask people, do you feel safer now than 4 years ago? I don't get a lot of people saying yes to that one.
Sure.
So the numbers out there may be a little better. That may be the case, but I'm not really certain that's what everybody feels when I go out and do the door knocking.
Yeah, and no doubt, perception is reality, right? And
Yes.
you can tell me that it's down, just like you could tell me that it's not raining. But man, if I can put my head out the window and see it, the reality is that I'm seeing it, and I don't want to be seeing it. And now I'm not spending my money on local businesses because I'm seeing it. And you drive around downtown, and that's why I get so excited about economic development, and why I say that jobs are so good for crime. And the number one thing we could do for crime, I think, is have more people around. It's such a great deterrent, and it's just an example of really a high economic tide solves so many problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely does. The people that are committing crimes, they if you go a few years back before they're committing it, you give them the option, hey, you can have this good paying job, or you can go out and be a criminal. Which one are you going to choose? I don't really think there's too many people out there saying, yeah, I want to be a criminal. That's my MO. That's what I want to do. No, if there was something on the horizon, hey, look at that. They're hiring over there. Hey, look at that. Mm-hmm. My uncle, he just got this great paying job. Look at that truck he has.
Yeah.
Wow. I want to do that.
Yeah.
And we do need to do that. You're absolutely right. When the streets become barren, when the houses are boarded up, when nobody is walking on the sidewalk, and there's no jobs in the area, that is certainly a recipe for crime. If you read the Urban Decay books, if you read any of them, it'll point that out. The first steps are can't fix a house. The next one is the houses start to fall down. And then the next one is they're creating green spaces. I'm sure you've heard, let's green things up. Well, you have so much green space, and then spotty houses here and there. All of that, you look at that happening, and crime goes up every single time. It's publication after publication states what I'm stating.
Well, guys, before we sign off, I know these new districts, as Jamie pointed out, are a little confusing, maybe to say the least. So in as least of a confusing of ways you can, how about you say where your district is and then how folks can reach out to support you?
Yeah, absolutely. So District 4, so we pretty much encompassing, if you're thinking the shops at Grand Prairie, Northwoods Mall, in Westlake, and stretches all the way down to Reservoir. So really out from kind of the North Peoria and past Weaver Farms to Reservoir and a cutout in between.
Okay. And support?
You can, everybody is welcome to always call my cell phone if you'd like, or also Facebook page is Jamie Messmore for City Council.
Awesome. Great, James.
So the best way to describe the current, let me describe what the district was.
Okay.
The district used to be all along the river to the bluff, a very, very long swath along that. Now, along the riverside, it's about a third of that. So it goes from the cutoff toward Bartonville to the MacArthur Bridge. So that area at the river. Mm-hmm. And it goes all the way up to the Northwoods Mall. So Sterling, both sides of Sterling. And then if you hop that little area of West Peoria, come into my neighborhood, the Uplands, and go around Bradley University, the Moss Bradley area. So it is all of those areas. So it goes from the farthest south where the river is, all the way up to the Northwoods Mall, and just to make it, say, a half-mile swath all the way up and down that.
And how can folks help you?
They can call my cell phone number, 312-771-1668, or find me on Facebook, send me a message, drop by my house and knock on my door.
Awesome. Good. Well, thanks so much for your time, guys. I'm cheering for both of you. I really appreciate you coming on and helping folks get to know you a little bit better. Elections coming up. Please vote before April 1st, and let's get these two elected. Thanks.
Thank you, Travis. Appreciate it.
I'm Travis Weaver, and you're listening to the Good People Project.